I think we're comparing him to the wrong superstar.
Yeah?
And I think that maybe this has a lot to do with the dynamic with Brock Purdy. And good afternoon, everybody. How's everybody doing? Get on in here with us, okay? Comcast Business Text Line, 888-957-9570. Twitch, YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Hello to you. We're ready to rock another day closer to Niners and Cowboys. I just think people have a hard time sort of categorizing Brock Purdy, if you will. And I guess NFL.com, someone sent me, has their new QB power rankings up, and Brock is 7th.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So
soaring.
Maybe, flying through the atmosphere. But,
it's about time.
Well, I just think.
I mean, he should be number one. So let's just put that on the table.
You're feeling,
coming off a 20 for 21 and a 4-0 team. He's number one. He's the best quarterback in the league.
You're feeling a little sarcastic today.
You're getting that from me, and I'm not being sarcastic at all.
You don't believe that.
You're coming off of 20 for 21. You're yet to throw a pick, and your team is 4-0. Let's just put it out there. He's the best quarterback in football.
But you don't think that.
I do think that.
No, you don't.
I absolutely do. Mahomes,
I know you
beat it.
Well.
Josh Allen, hit the pike. It's Brock Purdy.
What do you actually think?
I think he's having a great year.
Okay.
And I think that his team is awesome, and his coach is the best in football, and he's a part of it. That's what I think.
Okay.
So if we want to do like QB rankings, in terms of like,
it's more about the dynamic, don't you think?
Sure. The dynamic is he is quarterbacking an offense that is amazing for a coach who is otherworldly and a roster that is more talented than almost any other team in football. That's who he is. And he's doing a great job. Steinmetz, you're doing a heck of a job. So we should call him Steinmetz because he's doing a heck of a job.
I'm uncomfortable with that.
He's doing an amazing job. He's quarterbacking an offense that is probably the best in football. Maybe it's number one or number two. I mean, Miami's offense, they put up 70. They went to Buffalo, and then they fell short. The Niner offense is, right now, unstoppable. And he's the quarterback of that offense.
The highest rated passer in the league.
He's number one in my quarterback power rankings. He is him.
I don't have quarterback power rankings.
I do. And it's Brock Purdy's one.
Okay.
And everyone else is tied for second.
Got it. No, I look at it this way. I think that there is the reason that this has become difficult for a lot of people, how to classify Brock to the point where NFL.com can have him 7th and the Ringer can have him 25th.
Right.
We're comparing him to the wrong legends. The names that you keep hearing come up, and it makes people really uncomfortable, are Joe Montana because they seem to have the same build and the same uniform.
Yep, same uniform.
Tom Brady because they seem to have some similar stories behind them in terms of the underdog, late draft pick nature of all of this. And for me, that's less tangible than something else. I think the comparison, the superstar we should be talking about, is Steph Curry. Here's what I mean. This has nothing to do with the accomplishments or the greatness because we can't do that yet.
Right.
It's only been 12 or 13 games. So I don't know why we're having, Steiny started the show today. It's a legacy game. You can't even have a legacy yet. He hasn't even finished one season.
Sure.
So how can we talk about the word legacy? So if you remove that, maybe it helps people a little bit with Montana, Brady. But what I'm talking about is not accomplishments or greatness. I'm talking about dynamics. And Steph Curry for years had a hard time being put on that level. The Mount Rushmores or whatever you want to, greatest point guard ever. Very hard time getting on that level. Why? Because of his size. Because Adonis athletes would look at him and sun him. And you cannot deny that this is a thing. LeBron James, Russell Westbrook, Magic Johnson, James Harden, players like this who are all bigger, stronger, faster, more muscular, all of that. They look at Steph Curry, and you could see it in their eyes and in their comments. They would look at him and go, how are you all going to put this guy on our level? How can you do that? There's no way that Steph Curry can have the effect on a game that I can, thinks LeBron James. All right. And then time and time again, it was proven. And I feel like only in recent years, probably the championship where he got the NBA Finals MVP, did the whole country sort of settle with, all right, yeah, it's you and LeBron. This was your era. And you guys are that legendary. I think people have a hard time looking at Brock Purdy and the physical skills and stature that he doesn't have. You can't, and they just can't stand him next to Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, and Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert, because it just doesn't feel comfortable. Because they're like, how can that guy be in this group? He can't do the things that those guys can do. I really think that's what we're playing with right now.
So Brock Purdy is Steph Curry.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Not what I said, but thanks for listening.
No. And I like your comp in terms of the physical makeup, and I also do think there's the underdog part of it, and I think that there is something to that. And it's tough though when the headline is Brock Purdy and Steph Curry, Brock Purdy and anyone, because we've never seen anybody like Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy might be closer to being Drew Brees, was obviously more highly drafted than Brock Purdy, but he was a quarterback who everybody always said, you're too small, you can't do it. No quarterback at 6 foot can, win from the pocket at that size. You're not that mobile. You're very accurate, but how are you going to ever be a winner at that size in this league where you got to be 6'4", either be 6'4" or run a 4.2 40, or preferably both is what we want. And so in terms of Brock Purdy, I do think there's draftism. There's also sizeism, and there's also babyface-ism.
Yeah.
If you want to put all the isms on him.
Backpack.
Yeah, he's got a backpack. He's 23. He hasn't even shaved yet, I don't think. Maybe once by accident, but he's that guy. So I do think that a lot of that plays into why people are still doubting him, but he's 4-0, and he's never lost a game in the regular season, and he's been amazing. So at what point, and hopefully it's not as long as what it took for Steph Curry to get those plaudits, and I think you're right, it took Steph to get that one, quote, on his own. Because the first one was kind of fluky. It wasn't really fluky, but it was like, okay, yeah.
Well, people didn't expect it. Yeah, you didn't see it coming, and then he didn't win. He didn't win MVP. Yeah.
And then when you finally got your fourth, it was like, okay, now you're a real one. Now you got number 4, and now we can accept you. Like you said, now we can look at this era and say, yeah, it might have been your era too.
The difference, I think, in the dynamic, and by the way, would love to hear from a lot of people today on this. Not what you think of Brock Purdy, but why you think the conversation sounds the way it sounds. That's what's interesting to me right now. Why do you think it sounds the way it sounds? We'll take some calls on that, 888-957-9570. Why is it polarizing? If you actually look at Brock Purdy, he's probably the least polarizing individual I've ever seen in my entire life. What is there to say?
There's no negative.
He's right. He just cruises around with a backpack, and the teammates all love him. He has not experienced, a loss yet. He hasn't even really experienced what you would call, and maybe more accurate, because I know people get tripped up. Has he lost a game? Has he not? Does he this, that, whatever? Forget the stats. He's never gone out and played football and looked awful. It's never happened. I mean, Josh Allen has that on the resume already this year.
Every other quarterback does.
Mahomes did on Sunday night. So he has not gone out and looked bad. He's looked okay. He's also looked great, but he's never gone out and been like, woof, Brock had a stinker.
Yeah.
That hadn't happened yet. It'll come. Everybody has that. But I don't find him to be a polarizing subject or individual, yet he somehow is. There is this discussion. The quick difference, though, Dibs, between that Steph Curry thing I felt came from a lot of people in the league, came from other players.
Yeah.
It came from past players. They didn't want to look at Steph Curry and allow him to be on their level.
Charles Barkley, for one.
That's one thing we don't see. What I hear about Brock inside the league is just praise. That's all. Like Micah Parsons himself is the one who started it 2 weeks ago, where he's like, can we stop? Brock Purdy is top half of the league. This guy's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. The guy going to try to sack him this weekend is the one who started this. I don't hear other players being like, yeah, come on, Brock Purdy, for real. Like, nobody's saying that. I do hear it from the outside. We hear it a lot from the outside.
Right, and if you took all the names off of every stat board in the NFL, if you just put the numbers up and you looked at his numbers, you would think, oh my God, this quarterback is nasty. He's an MVP candidate. He's one of the best in football. But when you put his name on there and you put his draft status on there and his measurables on there and his baby face on there and the fact that he plays for Kyle Shanahan on there, it's easy for people to look at all those things and say, well, this is how we're going to denigrate him.
Yeah, it's funny too, and if you even go deep into the things that you'll hear people say, Mark, we're going to need to see him come from behind. Well, that means he had a bad first half. Why do you want him to do that?
We need a bigger sample size, Mark.
Well, okay, and maybe. Does he need to beat great defenses? Does he need to make it healthy all the way through playoffs before this really, really changes? Sure. I mean, there's only one thing that allows quarterbacks to get that shine. You have to win a Super Bowl or multiple. Right? So he's going to have to do that at some point, or else the conversation does die on the vine. Although there is a secondary level of quarterbacks, and you don't even really see Brock there yet. There are a handful of QBs around the league where you're like, I'll take that guy. They haven't won a Super Bowl.
No.
We do it all the time. Josh Allen hasn't won a Super Bowl. Burrow, Super Bowl. Herbert hadn't even won a playoff game.
Tua.
Jalen Hurts.
Cousins.
Went to the Super Bowl.
Dak.
I mean, it's just Pat. We're really just talking about Pat. I guess Stafford, if you want,
sure.
That feels different.
Goff. Yeah. He was at one. He didn't win one.
He didn't win one. A lot of guys have been to one.
How many other
Jimmy has
current
been to one.
quarterbacks who are currently playing, forget Aaron Rodgers, who have actually won a Super Bowl?
I mean,
it's Mahomes.
It's Mahomes
and it's Stafford.
That's it, right?
And Russ.
Oh, Russ. Russell Wilson.
It's easy to forget about Russ, right?
Yeah.
But
because they're not doing it anymore.
But beyond those three, and Russ is not, he's lowercase r Russ, and Aaron Rodgers is done for the year, maybe for his career.
Well, don't ask him. He thinks he's going to be back.
That's fine. I can't wait. And Stafford is on a middling team in L.A. whose brighter days are not ahead.
We're not forgetting anybody, are we? Are we forgetting anybody?
I don't think so.
Russ, Stafford, and Pat.
Lamar hasn't won
Lamar's not won a Super Bowl.
No.
Dak,
Baker Mayfield,
no. Not won a Super Bowl.
Jimmy, no. Beep, ba-doop, ba-doop, ba-doop. Richardson and Stroud, no.
Yeah. No, that's it.
That's it.
Rodgers, but right, he's hurt.
He's out.
That's it.
So in terms of like that bar, if you want to set that bar, well, okay, fine. Mahomes is clearing it, and Stafford has cleared it, but he won't again this year. And Russ, I mean, come on. With Russ, I mean, they might be in line for the first pick.
They could be.
They are terrible.
What would they do with it with the guarantee they've got on Russ, though? Oh, this is great. Priest called back. This is awesome. Let's find out, because apparently Priest does not like the way it characterized the call. Priest, I'm so glad you called back. Priest in Oakland with Willard and Dibs. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing great. I was just listening, man, and I heard Guru going to his diatribe about what I said, and I have a question. Why do you guys get your feelings so deeply hurt when someone gives their honest critique or appraisal of Brock Purdy? You guys give appraisals about other quarterbacks all the time.
Who got their feelings hurt, Priest?
You're real critical of them.
Who's got their feelings hurt?
It's like it becomes a huge deal out of nothing. Okay, so what I said about Brock Purdy, I'll reiterate. I think Brock Purdy does exactly what they ask him to do and does it extremely well. And they're winning. Why do you care what other people say so deeply?
Priest, are you talking, well, hold on, Priest. Are you talking to Goo? I'm not in my feelings. I heard your call word for word, and I know exactly what you said, and a lot of it made a whole lot of sense. There was one sentence at the end I disagree with. My feelings aren't hurt, but I definitely do not agree with your sentence. Go ahead, Priest. Okay. Yep. Ahead. I can be interrupted too. Go ahead.
You said that the vertical offense does not exist.
It doesn't. And I can show you articles of data that have been written.
Let me ask you a question.
Go ahead.
Let me ask you a simple question. What is the vertical offense to you?
Well, you're talking about going up top more often, downfield passing game.
All it is, when you look at I remember I would sit there and watch Bill Walsh design that offense around Joe Montana. He came with the original version of that offense was completely different. He changed it because of Joe Montana's strengths. He could not throw a 9 route. It would go out of bounds.
Priest, you're getting no disagreement from me. You're getting none.
Huh?
You're getting no disagreement from me. I would love for... Yeah.
So what's the big problem with what I said?
I don't have a big problem with what you said, Priest. I don't have a problem with it.
Okay. All I was saying is the West Coast offense is a version of an offense that existed long before They called it the West Coast offense because of Bill Walsh's version of it.
Right.
So all you're seeing now is gradual variations of that offense, and it's got the vertical offense mixed in it. If you watch the offense that the Kansas City Chiefs run with Patrick Mahomes, it is the original offense.
So, Priest, I'm gonna jump in here because you didn't even let me get to the one thing that I was going to say. I listened to your whole call, and I don't disagree with the majority of it. I'm certainly not up in my feelings at all. But you said that Brock Purdy, if he were quarterbacking 90% of the other offenses in the NFL, he would fail. I'm not in my feelings, but I disagree. I firmly disagree. That's all.
I said in 90% of the offenses that are running the NFL,
right?
They would not have drafted him if they didn't. If the 49ers draft.
Priest,
49ers.
Priest, we're going to get some other people in here. The issue I have with that is neither did the Niners.
Well, 99% of the other teams didn't draft him. Nobody else drafted him.
Nobody drafted Brock Purdy to be their quarterback. They drafted
including the Niners.
Right. They drafted him to be a late flyer to see what he could do. And again, that is the area where I disagree with the point. To me, there's no other way. There's no way around the fact that Brock Purdy was misevaluated. It's not because he doesn't run their offense. And TJ Houshmandzadeh was the one to use that word on this show. Brock Purdy was misevaluated. I think that's a fact through my eyes. So that was Priest has plenty of points. Priest, smart caller. We all know that. We've known that for years around here. Every quarterback has a coach who's trying to highlight their strengths.
Right.
But to say that Brock Purdy and his skills wouldn't translate basically to 90% of the rest of the league, I disagree.
Well, and I
disagree.
I don't think that many offenses run the, quote, 9 route like he is envisioning offenses run the 9 route. Like, even the Niners, I'm trying to think how many times they've run a true 9 route where you have a guy out wide and he just runs straight down the field and you throw it up to him. They don't do that. Like, they found Brandon Ayuk last week against double coverage down the seam, and that was not necessarily a 9 route. That was more of a deep route over the middle of the field, and that's what Shanahan's going to do in terms of taking his deep shots. You don't see a lot of teams doing what I guess he's saying that Brock Purdy can't do, and I'm not sure if we know that Brock Purdy can't do that.
That's a great point. And it goes to what I'm saying about why I brought up Steph Curry's name today. I bring up Steph Curry's name because what I still hear is I hear people saying, here are all the things that Brock can't do. And Dibs, as you just said, there's zero evidence of that at all. Zero. You're saying he can't do it because he doesn't look like he can do it. But he's already proven he can do a bunch of stuff that he doesn't look like he can do. And so we are having collectively, as an NFL society, a hard time getting to the point of putting Brock Purdy in the conversation of top QBs in the league because he doesn't look like the rest of them. He doesn't have the size. He may or may not have the arm strength. I don't even see an arm strength issue. I realize that the ball doesn't look like Herbert when it comes out of his hands. It also doesn't matter. His record is way better than Justin Herbert's. Instead of talking about elite quarterback play, why don't we talk about who is quarterbacking in the NFL right now, who's an elite winner? Because that's the name of the game. And if you phrase it that way, maybe people would be more open to including his name on the list.
Especially when you have a guy go 20 for 21 in a win, and you're leading at the NFL in completion percentage and in QB rating and all the rest of it after 4 games, and you've never lost in the regular season. So all these things, I think, have to be positives that you file in the Brock Purdy file. It's one thing to look at what he doesn't do, and we can all nitpick on what he doesn't do, but what he does do so far, each and every time, is win the game. He wins, he completes passes on time at a high percentage, and his teammates vouch for him.
I'm super curious to know what everyone thinks in terms of why the conversation sounds like it does. So I think we can move on from the is he good, is he bad, is he somewhere in between, what would happen if he were a Raider. I mean, all of these things are kind
Al Davis.
They're kind of irrelevant and or answered already. But I would love to hear from people on why it sounds the way it sounds. And that's my take today. I think there's a Steph Curry dynamic, which is we're having a hard time listing Brock Purdy's name next to other guys around the NFL who are like Adonis physical figures. And we're just having a hard time with it. And maybe there is some truth or accuracy to that will play out over time. We'll find out, but we're having a hard time putting it. Like makes it makes your shoulders go up. You're like Mahomes and Allen and Burrow and Purdy. Like, am I going to say that? It almost feels like you're taking a risk in the room to say that because someone will look at you and go, "What are you doing? Why are you putting his name next to the other guy?"
Right?
I don't know, because he wins all the football games.
And his numbers, I mean, forget
That
the eye test. If he's not 6'5" and able to throw the ball 70 yards in the air, he delivers an accurate ball and his team wins, and he doesn't throw interceptions. So aren't those the most important things about a quarterback? Be accurate, don't turn it over, and win?
That's what you're drafting. Whatever round you're in, that's the system you're drafting. Accuracy, limit turnovers, timing,
and win. I mean, those are the skills that you're looking for. And Kyle Shanahan didn't look at him in the last pick of the 7th round and think, yeah, I got a steal here. Here's the guy who's going to supplant Trey Lance and forget you, Jimmy, and all the rest of it. But I'm sure he saw something in Brock Purdy in terms of his accuracy, his acumen, his moxie. Forget the fact that he's, 6'1", maybe on a good day?
Maybe, yeah. We got to get DJ Khaled in here because that's all this is. That's all, sure, we could have a conversation about all this other stuff, but all he do is win, 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 no matter what.